Okay. Okay. So I think we had today. Seville and Sheila and Joe. You've been here a few times. One time.
One time, 3 years ago. No, first time.
One time 3 years ago. Okay. Welcome back. Welcome back.
My first time.
And your first time. And you do know each other?
Yes, we are friends.
Okay. Okay. And Hannah's a longtime student, right? But she's just coming to the center for the first time. Second time. Okay. Okay. And the other people have come regularly because I've seen them in the classes that we've run. So today, just so you know, it's called the Tibetan New Year. And it's by the lunar calendar? I don't know what calendar, somebody's calendar, the Tibetan calendar. So, there's the Chinese New Year, the Western New Year, and the Tibetan New Year. And this is because this is a Tibetan Mahayana Gompa or temple. We acknowledge and honor the Tibetan New Year, but this is also a very special New Year because on the 3rd of March in 1984, I'm terrible with dates, sorry. The main teacher that founded this international network of centers passed away at age 49, and I was his secretary. So this morning, as an example, I gave an 1.5-hour talk to a monastery in France that was attended. I didn't see the people online, but I've gotten a lot of notes from people who attended. So it had a pretty good broadcast because they wanted me to talk about Lama Yeshe, who was the founder of this whole network, who was a very special, special being. And so tonight the program is, I think it's a 1/2 hour of meditation. And then if people would like to know about Lama Yeshe and have questions about Lama Yeshe, I'd be happy to talk to you about Lama Yeshe. If you're interested in Buddhism, and particularly if you're interested in Tibetan Buddhism and in Mahayana Buddhism, and you're interested in the Gelugpa tradition. Actually, I would say even beyond the Gelugpa tradition, Lama Yeshe was special because Lama Yeshe is actually given credit for bringing Dharma to the West. That was what Lama Yeshe was known for. So he's a very important character in history. And for those of us who value and benefit from the Dharma, we're extremely indebted to Lama Yeshe because this place wouldn't exist. We wouldn't exist. We wouldn't know each other if it weren't for Lama Yeshe. And just the mere fact that we're here tonight, that out of all the people in the world that could be here tonight, it's us, indicates a special connection with Lama Yeshe. You may not know it, but you ended up here tonight, and here you are on this particular occasion when you could have come at any other point in time like that. So the meditation that we're going to do is on a practice called Shen Rezig. And we had initially thought to do Tara because Lama liked Tara very much, but we got some information from the central office, I guess, that His Holiness the Dalai Lama has said that it's very auspicious to do Om Mani Padme Hum, the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, or to do White Tara. And I thought Om Mani Padme Hum is a very simple mantra. You may have heard it because it's well known, just the simple mantra, 6 syllables. So I thought that would be a good one to do. And then, we'll see how long it takes because it wasn't what we had planned to do originally, but we're going to do it. So do you have experience with meditation? Joe, Seville, Sheila? Okay. And what kind of meditation?
Transcendental meditation.
Okay. Okay, so this is slightly different. It still has an object of concentration. So in transcendental meditation, you had a mantra, didn't you?
Yes.
Yes. So also there will be a mantra tonight, but there's also visualization involved. So I was going to say these 3 people you took the course, right? I'm very forgetful these days. So 4 of them were just in a class about meditation, and one of the meditations is a visualization meditation. So what do you do with a visualization meditation? Please help me.
Visualize an object.
But what do you do with it? I said there's analytical and visualization, and what single pointed, but what occurs? You mingle your mind with your already perfect qualities. So right now we can have low self-esteem, we can feel depressed, we can get down, we can get angry, we can have all of these negative emotions within us. And sometimes we can identify with these negative emotions, and we make it our personality, and they become ingrained. So if you have a tendency to get angry, then, and if you practice getting angry, you'll perfect getting angry. And that's not a good state. That doesn't bring you happy results. So when you do a visualization meditation, you visualize an image in front of you that represents particular qualities. And the image that we're going to use tonight is Chenrezig. And Chenrezig is down at the very end. And is there another Chenrezig around? Okay. Well, I'll give the explanation of what it is. So if you're open-minded, that's good. Just hang on for the ride and follow along, going to what's called the 8 verses for training the mind. And these are 8 verses that you can also meditate on at the same time at an analytical meditation to move your mind into a realistic position. So this meditation will combine analytical and visualization, and they both require single-pointed concentration. Single-pointed concentration is the base of any meditation you're going to do, because if you don't have single-pointed concentration, your mind's going to be like a flea, flitting everywhere. So you want to have the stable base. So we'll just do it, and then you guys can follow along, and we can talk later about the experience and whether there was any value, or if you were able to follow it, or if you had questions. Okay, and so the people who use a mala have their mala with them, because we're going to do mantras. So if you have a mala, you can use the mala, because then what will happen is we report how many malas we do, and we give them to Nicole, and then you make a report on behalf of the center. So you need to let people know that we're doing Om Mani Padme Hum for the long life of Rinpoche and His Holiness. And a mala is simply, in Catholicism, it would be called a rosary, and we call it a mala. It has 108, 110, 111 beads on it. Each one might be different. You only count it for 100. The others are for your mistakes, because you're going to make mistakes. So you have 100, you count 100 beads per mala, but it could have 107. It could have 108. It could have them. I've seen them online now for crazy quantities, but traditionally it's not crazy quantities. But anyway, so we'll do some mala, mantra, a mala of mantra as well. So we're combining everything tonight. And if you're interested in meditation, you should get a mala, and you should carry it with you, because then you don't know when you're going to end up in a traffic jam or in jail or whatever. You need to have something to do.
What's your phone number?
Okay, so I'm going to read something from His Holiness to kind of hone us in on what we're doing. That was just a little introduction. But His Holiness says a good mind, a good heart, and warm feelings are most important. If you do not have such a good heart, you yourself cannot function. You cannot be happy, and consequently your family, children, and neighbors will not be happy either. Thus, from nation to nation and continent to continent, everyone's mind will become disturbed, and people will not be happy. But if you do have a good attitude, a good mind, a good heart, the opposite is true. So in human society, love, compassion, kindness are the most important things. They are truly precious. It is worthwhile making an effort to develop a good heart. So the image that we're going to be used, called Avalokiteshvara Chenrezig, is the image of compassion. So I'd mentioned that you hold an image in front of you, and that image represents good qualities. In this particular case, the image represents compassion. So we're going to infuse our minds with compassion. And it's interesting what His Holiness says about these good qualities elevating society. Today I was listening to Osel, who's the recognized reincarnation of Lama Yeshe speak, and Osel was talking about the power of saying you're sorry. Just something so simple as the power of saying you're sorry. Because when you don't say you're sorry, you're guarding yourself, protecting yourself. When you say you're sorry, you open yourself up. And when you do that, that shift changes your community. You can imagine if everybody in the community started to not be guarded about what they do, you do something wrong and you just say, I'm sorry. It just makes a huge shift. So the shift doesn't start with somebody else. It starts with yourself. No, you can't expect anybody else to make a shift in feeling if you don't do it yourself. You can't blame anybody else if you're not part of the solution yourself. So with the meditation posture, if you're on the floor, then you want to find a comfortable cross-legged position. If you're in a chair, the ideal posture is to have your feet on the floor, and then, just so that you're balanced. And then your hand should be in your lap, left on the bottom, right on the top. Fingers are aligned, palms are cupped. This brings the thumbs together into a triangle at approximately the navel level. Your arms are slightly open so that you have some space between your body and your arm to allow for the passage of air. The singular most important part of your posture is your spine. It should be straight but not rigid. You can check your spine by checking your shoulders. They should be back and down and directly over your hips. Your head should be slightly forward, which will cast your vision down towards the floor, but you don't want to focus on anything, so lower the eyelids until there's just a slit of light. That slit of light is to help you not fall asleep by keeping your nervous system alert. Your tongue is on the upper palate behind the front teeth. The lips are lightly closed and the jaw is loosely opened. And this is your ideal meditation posture. So just sit with the posture for a minute so that you become familiar with it. So we're going to start with a little contemplation to help us establish our motivation for engaging in the meditation and for being here tonight. So we can kind of think or recall the words of His Holiness that we just read, where His Holiness said that it's important to develop a good heart. So having a good heart means having love. And what love means in the Tibetan definition of love is wishing, wanting others to be happy. So a good heart means having love and having compassion. And compassion in the Buddhist definition means wanting people to be free of suffering. So when you have love, you wish others to be happy. And when you have compassion, you wish them not to suffer. And that's what His Holiness calls a good heart. So if you think this way about developing love and developing compassion, this is the method for achieving our own happiness and the happiness of others. It's a win-win situation. So if our mind is imbued with love and imbued with compassion, everyone wins. So this might be something that we understand. Maybe we've thought about it before. Maybe this is new information, but it's a little intuitive. But why is it so difficult? Why is it difficult to have universal compassion or universal love? Why is it difficult to have love for your best friend? But once that best friend says something that you don't like and becomes your enemy, why is it difficult to maintain that love? So we need to think about this. And the chief obstacle, what's being proposed, is that the chief obstacle is our habit of thinking ourselves first, of what's called our self-cherishing attitude. So most of the time, and what you have to do is listen to what I'm saying, but you have to check up yourself. You have to use your own inner wisdom to see if it makes sense or not. So most of the time, we're preoccupied with keeping ourselves happy and comfortable. Most of the time, we're trying to fulfill our own desires. Most of the time, we're worrying about our own problems. Only occasionally are we finding the energy and the space to really open our hearts to the needs of others. So it is this self-cherishing motivation that gets us to take the biggest piece of cake or the most comfortable chair in the room, to push to the head of the queue or drive as if we were the only car on the road. And even if you're not the one who drives like you're the only person on the road, now when you see others who do that, then you understand a little bit about what's going on in their psyche, that they're super concerned about their own happiness. And they're not considering the happiness of others. And that allows you to have a little space and compassion, because you know when somebody is motivated like that, we know from our own psyche, our own side, when we're motivated like that, we're not happy. To do what we like to do, what we feel like we want to do, without considering how it might affect others. This is the self-cherishing mind. And this is how it operates. It's very subtle. If you've ever been irritated or felt pride or jealousy, anxiety, depression, if you check up behind those emotions is a self-cherishing attitude. In fact, just about every time we are unhappy or uneasy, it is because we are overly concerned with me. Poor me. We feel that if we can't take care of ourselves, we will not be happy. And in fact, the very opposite is true. Because ego's appetite is insatiable, trying to fulfill wishes in a never-ending job. No matter how much we have, ego continuously grows restless and looks for more. We never reach a point where we feel ultimately satisfied, where we can say, now I have enough. If, on the other hand, we can turn our mind around to think of others and put their needs and desires first, we will find peace. There is serenity that comes from truly cherishing others. By acting always according to what is least disturbing for others, ego is then gradually subdued, and our life and our relationships take on a new dimension. So you have to think about that just for a minute and see if it makes sense or if you think it's complete balderdash. But this attitude that we're talking about of cherishing others, it's not based on disliking ourselves, and it's not based on suppressing your feelings. It's developed by gradually coming to recognize that everyone needs love and everyone wants happiness, just as we do. That every being in the universe is part of one big family. That we all depend on each other that there is no such thing as an outsider, that self-cherishing brings problems and cherishing others brings peace of mind. It's not easy to develop universal love and compassion, but as soon as we start trying to do so, we will see the changes in our life. We need to persevere, and we need to be kind to ourselves. And at times it may seem that we're not getting any better. But that is only because with deeper conscientiousness, we are now more aware of our mind, of what has been there all the time. And we must remember that it takes time and effort to overcome habits built up over a lifetime or over many lifetimes. So the practice that we're going to do is developed to improve our attitude towards others. And the final aim is the development of very deep compassion, or what's called bodhicitta, the mind aspiring to reach enlightenment for the sake of all beings. So develop this kind of motivation to try to develop love and compassion for all beings, so that you have this good heart and you can combat the self-cherishing mind that only leads to misery for yourself and others. So recall the lives of people you know, relatives, friends, and neighbors. What problems, physical and mental, are they experiencing? Just as you do not want problems and pain, neither do they. So think about that. Do you think that these people that you are affiliated with, even when they rise up as your enemy, do they want pain? Do they want suffering? And the answer is, just as you do not want problems and pain, neither do they. And just as you want peace and happiness, so do they. But do they have the solutions? Do they have any methods to achieve the happiness they want and avoid the suffering that they do not want? So generate the determination that you will develop compassion and love, and then you'll be able to help all these beings, really help all these beings. You have to take care of yourself first. If you don't take care of yourself first, then you can help no one. And think, I'll practice this profound teaching, this profound meditation in order to benefit others. So the first step is to visualize at the level of your forehead, a body's length away, the image called Avalokiteshvara or Chenrezig. And this is the Buddha of compassion. So this is probably going to be an unusual visualization for you. So just do the best you can. If you don't see the image clearly, it doesn't matter. You can use an image of white light. White, bright, translucent light. So this is what's in front of you. And this image is radiating rainbow light of 5 colors: white, red, blue, green, and yellow. This image has a gentle smile, and he looks at you and all beings with eyes of great compassion. He has 4 arms. The hands of the first 2 are together at the heart and hold a precious jewel that is capable of fulfilling the wishes of every living being. His other right hand holds a crystal rosary, and in his left a white lotus. He is seated in the cross-legged position on a lotus and a moon disk, and he is surrounded by the full moon of an aura. He wears exquisite silk clothes and precious jeweled ornaments, and antelope skin covers his left shoulder and breast. And remember, the most important part is that this entire visualization is of radiant light. So what we're going to do, because this is a short night tonight, is we're just going to practice the visualization. And again, the most important part is to hold that image in front of you and to feel the radiating light. So just sit for just a minute, try to establish that visualization. As much of it that I mentioned, try to use, and what you can't use, just have this white translucent light energy in front of you, radiating the 5 colors of light. So now what's going to happen is, from this image that we've generated in front of us, that's radiating these 5 colors of light, you want to visualize that from this image, which represents perfect compassion, the goal that we want to be happy, the goal that we want to reach to be able to benefit others, these 5 radiating rainbow lights are coming into us. It's coming from his heart center, or the center of your, just using a sphere. From the sphere, the center of the sphere of light, comes this stream of nectar in the form of, with the color of 5 radiating lights. And it flows from his heart into you. You can have it go straight into your heart, or you can have it come in through your crown chakra. And as it comes in through the crown chakra, just visualize that these 5 colored lights that are like a nectar are radiating in through the top of your head. And now feel them fill your entire body. And just keep this coming as much as your attention will allow. Just for a minute, hold the image. Have the sphere of light in front of you, radiating the rainbow colors, and they form a nectar that comes in through the top of your head. And from the top of your head, all the way down your body, into your arms, down your back, down your spinal column, into your hips, into your legs, into your feet. You are completely filled. The whole body and mind are filled with this radiating rainbow nectar light. And this is what is called concentration. You hold this and you feel the usual you disappear. The usual you that has problems, that has aches and pains, that grumbles, that dislikes certain things and gets irritated by others. So feel that all the obscurations, all the negative imprints and diseases, everything negative inside you is purified. And this is your concentration right now, is to have this experience. And hold it with confidence that all of your negativities are gone. And if you have an illness of any sort, it's gone. And now your body becomes crystal clear. All the hard parts are gone. And you want to hold this experience of being yourself, light energy. There's no reason you're not light energy. It's just all those negativities that we usually hold so tightly without knowing it that prevent us from recognizing our light body energy. And then this image in front of you, Chenrezig or Avalokiteshvara, this image that we've been using as the source of the goodness, of the source of the compassion and love. This image that's in front of you melts into light. So there's no longer an external image. The image melts in through the top of your head, and your body, speech, and mind are nothing but compassion. And you sit there now as the body of light yourself. And all of your negativities are gone. And now you visualize that all those beings, the ones that you like, the ones you don't consider, and the ones that you hate, are surrounding you. And now you are a body of light, radiating out to them as a little minute ago Chenrezig was radiating to you. And so then we're going to do a round, like I said, 108 maybe, beads of Om Mani Padme Hum. And this is a very simple mantra. I'll count the mala, but it's a very simple mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. And while we say the mantra, we'll do some out loud, and then we'll do some silently. When you do it silently, it's still resounding throughout you, but it's just quieter. But visualize the whole time. You've got a couple of things to concentrate on. Your mind, your body, your speech. You're crystal clear. You're completely free of all obscurations, all negativities. You are union oneness with compassion and the wish to be of benefit to others. And you are radiating out this love, compassion energy from your heart. And it's now radiating out and going in through the tops of all the beings. Just like a minute ago, you were the recipient of the blessings. And you visualize as you do this, that all of their negativities and all their obscurations are gone. So we'll practice the Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme O mani padme hum. 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 So now this is your inner sound. And now you recite Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. While you hold the image of yourself as being crystal clear, love and compassion, radiating out rainbow lights to all the beings of the world. And this rainbow light goes in through their crown chakra. So this is what you concentrate on, and you use the assist of Om Mani Padme Hum. 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 Om Mani Padme Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. So the inner mantra, the inner sound keeps going. You continue to hold yourself as a body of clear light, radiating rainbow light that is absorbed through the heads of sentient beings who are surrounding you. All those people that you like, do not like, and care nothing about are completely filled with love and compassion that is coming from you. And then all of those sentient beings around you, filled with rainbow light, become bodies of light themselves. And now for just a minute, you sit holding the image of yourself and all beings, completely union oneness with love and compassion. And the sound of Om Mani Padme Hum is the only sound you hear. Inner and outer sound, Om Mani Padme Hum. Just for a minute, hold that feeling, that image, that visualization. So then, without losing the feeling of being union oneness with compassion and love, without losing the feeling that your body is a body of light, not a body of trouble, without losing the inner sound of Om Mani Padme Hum, you can dedicate all of the energy that you created by practicing this short meditation. You can think, may the suffering and causes of suffering of all beings ripen on me right now. May all beings receive the results, my happiness, and its cause, my merits. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta, compassion, that has not arisen, arise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Without being discouraged even for a moment, may I completely renounce selfish actions and praise for the sake of others the Bodhisattva's great deeds, which are like the holy actions of the kind founder Shakyamuni Buddha. Through these merits, may I quickly attain the state of the great compassionate one, not just in practice, but in forever evermore. And may I lead all living beings, the supreme noble ones, into that enlightened state as well. And then feel a great deep sense of satisfaction for what you've done this evening. To come here and engage in this short meditation in order to start working on uprooting all of our self-cherishing so that we can become compassionate and loving in order to be a solution, not a problem in the world. Let a divine sense of pride for what you've done, coming all this way, bearing the I-95 traffic, all the hardships to get here. Make yourself feel very divinely proud, not a pride that pits you against anybody else, just knowing that you are rising to the occasion. And let that feeling of divine pride become like a warm glow in your heart. It fills your whole body with a sense of satisfaction. And then when you're ready, you can relax your body and your mind. And then if you have any questions, if you want to say something, we can talk now. How was that for a visualization meditation, Jack? Were you able to follow it?
Mostly.
No, but see, this is the thing. How did you do as new, Sheila?
Yeah, it was okay. It's just that my heartbeat went right high during meditation. It always happens, that's, I think, strange, My
Yeah.
heartbeat goes up a little bit.
And usually it goes down.
Yeah, but my heartbeat goes up, yeah. Always. It's very strange, right?
Only in meditation?
Yes. I was checking my heart rate. It's 98.
What's it supposed to be?
It's supposed to be like 70, 80, something like that. Strange.
It's like the white coat syndrome. Do you know the white coat
No, I
syndrome?
don't know
The white coat syndrome is that when you see the doctor, your blood pressure goes up. And as soon as you walk out of the room, your blood pressure goes down. So it's like,
Something like that.
yes, so you go to meditation when you're supposed to be relaxed.
Yeah. But
Maybe-
I was in a meditation mood. I mean, I was not, like alert or something. I was relaxed and everything. But my heart,
Okay, we'll keep monitoring it. It's very strange. And Joe, how did you do? Had you done this meditation before?
Not this one, but it was okay. But it's hard for me to focus the entire time on this visualization.
Of course. Of course.
But I just try to bring it back.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's a struggle for me, but I'm
Yeah.
getting better and better.
Yeah, of course it is. I mean, of course it is, because we don't have the habit. So if you don't have the habit, then you don't have the habit. And the only way you get the habit is by repeated practice like that. But you see the value of the meditation, the value of using the image. So this is what I say. When you, a visualization meditation does what? Yeah. So this is just an alliteration that I use so that you understand what's going on. So as we are in this day, in our present day, how we are is we're full of troubles, right? I mean, am I right or wrong? We've got problems. We've got physical problems, emotional problems, we've got practical problems, and they lead to tension. So we've got backaches, and we've got headaches, and we've got feet aches, and we've got, the crummy driver on 95, and we've got the person who's rude in Publix. We've got all of this assaulting us. But that's only because of the way we're thinking. If we saw these beings, if we saw these people just like we see ourselves, and when somebody's rude to you in Publix, the only reason they're being rude to you is because of the way they feel inside. So when you start to see that angry driver on I-95 is behaving the way they are, it's because of their self-cherishing mind. When you start to see that for what it is, then you can relax a little bit and you can wish them happiness. May that driver always have free highways. May that person in Publix always have an open line. Like that, because we understand. So instead of getting angry at them, we understand the dynamics of what's going on in their mind. That gives us space to offer them compassion. May you not suffer. May you be free of suffering. May I not contribute to your suffering. May I be free from suffering. And so that's what this meditation does, is it mingles your mind with this the quality of being peaceful, of being loving, of being kind, of being patient is our natural state. It's like saying the sun. Let's take a look. Everybody knows what the sun is, right? I have no question. I mean, I'm not talking something weird, right? You know what the sun is. Am I right?
Right.
Okay. So do you think that the sun radiates 360 degrees, 365 days of the year? Or do you think it doesn't radiate sometimes? What does it do?
It gets all the time.
But then you turn on the news tomorrow and they're going to say it's only going to be partly sunny.
Still there.
That's exactly right. It's still there. It's still radiating, but it's partly sunny because there are clouds in the way, right? Our mind is always radiating love, always radiating kindness, always radiating compassion. But most of the time, it's covered up with our self-cherishing. So we are not in touch with our natural state of mind. And this has gone on all lifetimes, all this life. And our parents modeled it. Our parents didn't know better, so they taught us to be nervous and agitated, upset and uptight, angry, impatient. I mean, we inherited it. But then if you get halfway interested in reincarnation, you can see that it came with you from the previous life. And it came with you from the previous life. So now we're making this big breakthrough by coming to understand that our mind is clear light. That is what our mind is. It's just obscured. And that's why we don't enjoy patience and all of the good qualities. We don't enjoy it because we're not familiar with it. So when you do this meditation, you mingle your mind. You start to bring it in on a practical level to how we always are. The more you do this, the more you're familiar with it. And so then you're more able to handle life, the assaults of life, without being beaten down, because you understand it. You understand the dynamics of what's going on. But if it doesn't happen unless you practice, like just, I'm sorry, you can't play the piano without practicing. Even if you wish to play the piano, you cannot do it without practicing. So you can't have, without practicing, you can't be patient, kind, loving, all of these fine qualities all the time. You can't be it unless you practice it. And the more you practice it, then the more you can be it. But oftentimes you hear from people who've been practicing a lot, they say, the more I practice, the worse I get. But that's not what's actually happening. The more you practice, the more you observe what's going on inside. Most of the time, we don't even know what's going on inside of us. So the more you practice, the more you see what's going on inside of you. You don't get worse. You just become more aware of what's happening inside you. So that's what, a nice thing is to develop a daily practice. We talked about this in Meditation 101, developing a daily practice so that you start to see the benefits of meditation. The word meditation means what? Familiarize. Yeah. So oftentimes people, I mean, if I ask this question, many times I hear it means, making your mind zero, blanking out, total relaxation, zoning out. But what it means in the Tibetan tradition is that this is called a gompa. This room is called a gompa. Gom means to meditate or to become familiar, and pa means the place where you do it. So in Buddhism, the word meditation means nothing more than to familiarize. So if we take that and we say meditation means to familiarize, it means we've been meditating all our life on the wrong things. We've been meditating on getting impatient, getting angry, getting irritated. But now we're adults now and we can make our choices, and so we choose to meditate. And that means we choose to meditate on things that bring the good result so that we can be a kinder, wiser, happier person and die with peace. So this is funny. So my girlfriend and I have a friend that I've known forever since we were young hippies living in Idaho. And she had a boyfriend who was older, 18 years older than him. And I've always wondered what happened to Jack. What happened to Jack? So I Googled him and I found his obituary. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. He died last year of COPD, and which has to be a not very nice way to go, because COPD is what is it? Pulmonary obstruction. Yeah, I don't think you want to die. I think you can't breathe, maybe then. Anyway, what did it say? That I have to tell you what the obituary said. Oh, I know. The obituary said this: he died involuntarily. I just don't know anybody who's putting their hand up involuntarily. I'll die. I'm sorry. I've just cracked up over that. Since yesterday, I've been cracked up because he died involuntarily. Well, who does die voluntarily? But the thing is, whether you die voluntarily or involuntarily, to die with a peaceful mind is a really good idea. You don't want your last breath to be one of, not me, like struggling with it. You want understanding and compassion and patience. You want that to be on your mind, not things that could be on your mind, other things that could be on your mind, like that. Okay, any questions?
I just want to ask about the Keshwara. So you addressed as he, but I always kind of visualize this as she.
In the Japanese culture, he appears in a she form.
Okay. I mean, since it's compassion, I always visualize. Maybe I've seen a picture, like a very nice female form holding a flower, like with a lot of lights around her.
Kuan Yin.
It's in the library. That's
But
Yeah.
then I think I also saw a picture as well as holding a flower, lotus probably, holding a weapon too, because she has many arms, or he has many arms.
Yeah. If you look at this image over here, before you leave, you can see with the 1,000 arms. The
Yeah.
image we used just had 4 arms,
Okay.
but the 1,000 arms is so that they can take care and address the concerns of all beings. And on the 1,000 arms are 1,000 eyes, so they can see in all directions. And there's a story about that. The story is that this bodhisattva was feeling incapable of meeting the needs of sentient beings and was about ready to give up. And he had his head cracked into 11 pieces, and he developed 1,000 arms with 1,000 eyes so that he could keep going and keep serving sentient beings. So it's a nice, as you want to take it, it's like a nice story, so that it shows you. I mean, if you ever get discouraged, if you ever want to give up, you think of that story where he developed all these hands, eyes, and heads in order to be able to be of benefit. And when you hear a story like that, it can kind of refresh you and make you have more energy, because sometimes we get down like that.
No, I mean, when I saw the weapon, it resonates with me better actually, because compassion might be in different forms, not always, like as a flower, but sometimes you have to, like exactly.
Yeah, no, sometimes you
use that
have to.
weapon.
Yeah, I mean, that's where you want to have the wisdom to know what to do. So that's an interesting thing that you bring up, Seville, because in Buddhism, we learned that to have compassion isn't enough. Because if you only have compassion, but you don't have wisdom, then you've got a good heart, but you don't know what to do with it. So that's why the compassion is important. And you'll see, and many times you'll see an image like this, and it's the right hand of compassion holds the left hand of wisdom. Because you need wisdom. If you have wisdom and you don't have compassion, you can do damage. I mean, there's lots of stories of people who have the wisdom and they can do all sorts of amazing things, but they don't have the good heart. And so then they can do amazing things that are destructive. So you need the good heart, you need the compassion holding the good heart, like that. And that's why if you offer incense, if you ever offer incense, you should use 2 sticks, and you should have the right one behind the left one. And then that's holding, the compassion's holding the wisdom. So you can learn all these little tricks that keeps your mind on the topic, like that. Yeah. But if you look up Kuan Yin is the Japanese version.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Okay,
it's
maybe I've
Japanese.
seen that one, yeah.
Yeah. And she's a female. In this iconography, he's a male. He's a male. With 4 arms or with 1,000 arms. And then the famous female energy in Tibetan Buddhism is white Tara, who's there, or green Tara, who I think is behind me.
Yeah.
Right there, right here. That's Medicine Buddha.
Oh, I
It's blue. This one is there a green
Yes,
Tara?
green Tara.
Green Tara is right behind me, and that's the female energy.
Yeah.
Quick energy, like a mother. You know how a mother's always hearing, if her baby cries, she can hear it no matter what time of day it is, and she gets up to help her baby. So in Tara's mind, everybody's her baby, and she's like ready to go to help anybody who's in need. So these are energies, and they actually exist. These energies exist. They're actually there, but because we're so dull, we don't see them. So that's why you have beings who incarnate as human beings. They take a human physical form, because if only what was out there were these light beings, we would never be able to see them or hear them or get any teachings from them that would help us improve. So when an energy, when one of these energies, they're all the same. They're all the same energy, but they take different manifestations because they kind of specialize, specialize in female energy, specialize in wisdom energy, specialize in compassion energy. So I always say it's like having a medicine cabinet full of meditations. It's just like having a medicine cabinet full of medicine. So if you cut your toe, you don't put an aspirin on it. You put the right antidote on it. You put a Band-Aid on it. So if you're experiencing something, you apply the right meditation, like that. So there are all these energies, so that you use the right energy at the right time. But so these, because of the kindness of what we call the guru, and guru just means teacher. But because of the kindness of the teacher, they will take a physical form. They'll still be the enlightened energy, but they'll take the physical form, and they can show faults. They can show sickness. They can show all the human qualities, because if they didn't manifest like this, we wouldn't know what to do with them. So they manifest looking like you and me, but their heart is completely clear, and their speech is completely clear, and they manifest, they appear in order to help us. And the really right thing to do, if this all becomes super interesting to you, is to find your guru. You find that person who's at least that person has to be a little bit ahead of you. I mean, it's just like, if you're going to study the flute, you have to find a teacher who's a better flautist than you are. You may not make it to Juilliard. You may not get to the creme de la creme, but you find a teacher who's better than you are. So it's same in this tradition, but you look for your guru. I mean, I certainly did, and I was very lucky to find my teacher. And in this case, it was Lama Yeshe and his disciple Lama Zopa. So as I mentioned, this is this parinirvana, or this is when Lama Yeshe took the aspect of passing away in 1984.
He passed away so young.
49. He had what's that disease that attacks your heart? Not whooping cough. Rheumatic fever? No, not scarlet fever. I had scarlet fever, and my heart's just fine. I think rheumatic fever and scarlet fever are different. He had rheumatic fever, I think. It's something. whatever it is medically, he didn't have any his valves were all broken. But his energy kept him alive. He every time he went to the doctors, every time Lama Yeshe went to the doctors, they gave him only 6 months to live every time.
How long did that go on for?
Years. Because he shouldn't, I mean, they said there's no reason he's alive. But eventually at age 49, he passed away. But fortunately, he had a heart disciple, and that's Lama Zopa. So Lama Yeshe's on this side left, and Lama Zopa's on the right-hand side. So Lama Zopa still exists, and you can still meet him. It's a little more difficult now because of the pandemic. Lama Zopa did suffer a very serious stroke quite a few years ago. So he was totally paralyzed on his right-hand side. So the right-hand side still doesn't work. He has to drag the right-hand side, and he has to help the right hand help him, do things. And he also has diabetes. Actually, he's got, some of his teeth are missing now, and he's older. He's in his late 70s. But and his language is difficult. One of my peers used to say that he weeds out the tourist, because you have to be very patient when you listen to Lama Zopa, because he speaks with a heavy accent, and his sentences go on for about half an hour before you get a period. So you have to have a lot of patience. But when you recognize that he never stops, I mean, I was his attendant for a while, and he never stops. He never sleeps, never sleeps. Sometimes I would walk in at 3 a.m, and he would have rolled back in the bed like this. And then when I walked in the room, he'd roll forward. I mean, that's how, how much no sleep there was there, like that. But this is an example of a person who's, because of their training, is so committed to their practice. So in other words, what he would do during the day, Rinpoche would do during the day, would he be seeing people all day long, or tending to whatever needed to be tended all day long? And he said that there was no time to sleep, because he had to do his prayers all night long for all the beings that needed his help. And that's pretty mind-blowing when you see it, because it's not a joke. He's not like pretending to be useful. He's like 365 days of the year, 24 hours a day, fully engaged in being of benefit. There's nothing else that he does than be of benefit. So it's really mind-blowing. But if you get a chance to even just see Lama Zopa, am I right, Hannah? I mean, you just see Lama Zopa, and you see that how he has to use his body, and how his speech is impaired, and his hands don't work, and yet he keeps going. I mean, in most cases in the Western world, people would be sitting in front of the TV, spending their day with a martini and a soap opera. But that's not what Lama Zopa does at all. Yeah, pretty incredible. Sorry?
He thinks it's funny.
What?
He thinks it's funny.
What's that?
He thinks it's funny when he eats and the food dribbles out.
Yeah, he laughs at everything. He laughs at everything. He laughs. Well, in fact, when he had the stroke, he was actually teaching in Australia, and it was they were filming it, and he had the stroke while in front of all the students, and he said, now he's like, his face is drooping. He says, "Do you see that?" Because now he wasn't able, his speech was slurred. His mouth was drooping and like that. And he was in the hospital for a very long time. But he saw it happen, and he wondered, did anybody else see what happened? But he was taken over by this stroke. But and I've seen people who watched it. I'm sorry, I find things kind of funny. I've seen people who don't know Lama Zopa, who've seen him on a YouTube, and I've seen the comments going, "What is he, drunk?" But it's because they don't know. They don't know who Lama Zopa is, or what Lama Zopa is doing, or the incredible effort that Lama Zopa puts out to be of benefit. And if you ever ask Lama Zopa a question, well, my advice is don't ask Lama Zopa a question unless you really want the answer. It's not one of the cases you meet Lama Zopa and you ask a casual question, because Lama Zopa is going to stop his life, and he's now going to give you an answer that's going to be all day long, probably. So, you have to be sure that you want to hear the answer when you ask him a question, because he's going to take you very seriously like that. So it's wonderful if you can meet these beings. It's really worth the effort. In our case, when I was when it was in the 70s, I mean, we didn't have communication in the 70s. Nobody here is in the room old enough to know, but we didn't have, the only place you got hold of you.
65.
Well, you're almost there. You're almost there. But we only had Whole Food stores, right? I mean, you didn't have the internet where you could get online and find out what's going on anywhere. You just would go to a Whole Food store and there would be a bulletin board. And that's how you found out what was going on in the world, was a bulletin board in a Whole Food store. And so, getting information was difficult, not like now.
Payphones.
There were payphones, absolutely. Yeah, and when you could call long distance, and then you'd get the bill. I mean, do you remember, even with cell phones, you used to have to watch your time, right? I don't think anybody watches their time anymore, do they?
Unlimited
Yeah.
internet and all.
Yeah, so even you've seen things change. But so in our time, we didn't have easy access to information like there is now. But there wasn't a pandemic, and the teachers were traveling, and we were young, and we could do anything in the world when you're young. You can go anywhere, do anything. You don't need to eat. You don't need money. I don't ever remember thinking about money. I still don't think about money. I just hope that I die before I don't have any. But like that. So yes, it's a good idea to, if it's interesting to you. If it's not interesting to you, then okay. In my case, I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't found Lama Yeshe, because I was really interested. I was really interested in not being the me that I didn't like. So when I went to graduate school, and then I lasted 6 months in graduate school because I said, this isn't working. I was really looking for where happiness came from. And I thought it was psychology. So I did psychology in undergraduate. And I found quickly that it wasn't psychology, that nobody in psychology knew what they were doing. I'm sorry if you're a psychologist, but it was like, people had hypotheses, they had these ideas, and they'd advance these ideas, but they didn't know. So then I went into political science because I found through political literature, I could learn a lot about the human mind by studying political literature. But that's why I went to graduate school. And I got into graduate school and I said, this is just not working. So I quit, which I never do. I never quit anything because I thought it was a bad habit to quit, because if you quit once, you might quit twice. And I didn't think quitting was a good idea, but I had to quit graduate school. So I went off and did 20 years of independent study. I worked at a waitress at Bob's Big Boy, and I worked at a factory, and then I went to Idaho. And I decided that happiness was in self-sufficiency. That was my answer to where happiness was. Because if you lived in a high rise in New York and something happened, a bomb or whatever happened, and you were in a high rise in New York, what kind of chance did you have? So I decided self-sufficiency was the route to go. So I ended up in Idaho. I ended up on hundreds of acres of land doing self-sufficient farming. If I couldn't make it, we didn't wear it. If we couldn't grow it, we didn't eat it. We had to ski in. But the problem was I was still me. You know that expression, John Kabat-Zinn, he says, wherever you go, there you are. And so I got into what I considered would be a good environment, back to earth, but I was still me. Now I just had new things to make me irritated. The mice at night. I'd sleep with a flashlight because I'd hear the mice get out and eat my grains, and I'd have to get up and find the mice like that. So I was still me. So I so wanted to not be this me that was always irritated at something and always had a bad word to say about something. I just didn't want that anymore. And I knew that there was a potential, but I didn't know how to find it. And so I was really seriously looking. And I'm very glad. I mean, I tried all the all the religions. I really like the Hindu one because reincarnation is so easy. You know, you always go up. When I heard Tibetan Buddhism and in reincarnation in Tibetan Buddhism, it's depending on your mind. You know, if you've got a negative mind, well, you can expect a negative rebirth. And I didn't like that at all. First meditation course I went to, when I read about the hell realms, I said, let's go home. This is not for me. I want a happy ending. And I was a little worried I wouldn't have a happy ending with Buddhism. But then you learn, you know, you learn these meditations and you learn these techniques and you learn about how you can develop compassion and wisdom. And it becomes, so it becomes what you do with your life. And everything else that you do with your life is just how you practice being compassionate and wise. I ended up, I was gone for 8 years living in Nepal at a monastery. And when I came home, the first job I got for $5 an hour was telemarketing. Have you ever telemarketed? It's pretty low, right? And I had a boss, and the telemarketing job I got was selling magazines. And the person, our trainer, said that you couldn't get off the phone until they were crying. No, they were crying.
Okay.
So I made a decision, and fortunately, the company that I was with switched to lottery tickets. They were selling lottery clubs. So you'd call them and you would sell them a share in a lottery club. So now there'd be 15 people who owned one ticket. Some of the clubs had 25. This is what I did. And I said, I said, at $5 an hour. I mean, really. So I sat at this phone doing this abhorrent job. The only thing I could get, I mean, I was pregnant. And I said to myself, I am going to pray for these people. I'm going to wish them, I'm going to send them love, like the meditation we just did. Of course, I'm not telling them, but I'm going to use them as my object for becoming a better person. And it was so unbelievably profound. I had one guy, I had a number of people actually, but this one guy waited for my call every single month just to talk to me. And he said when his wife died, the only reason he didn't commit suicide was because of me, because of my call. And I didn't pray for him like he's on the phone and I'm mumbling some prayer. I'm just praying in my heart for him. So one time I missed calling him, and it was because my mother had died. So he called the office in Boca looking for me because why didn't I call him when I was supposed to call him? And they said, you know, that my mother had died and he lived in Lake Worth. So he drove down from Lake Worth in his little old Dodge Ram with his little dog called Rags, little old man with a long beard and thick yellow fingernails. And he ended up at the funeral home asking for Ashley Morgan. That was my phone name. And so he's standing at the funeral home and he's going, Ashley Morgan, Ashley Morgan. And people go, who's Ashley Morgan? And I go, I think it's me.
Wow.
So I had to respond as Ashley Morgan. And he came down to tell my father that he could make it because he had made it when his wife died. Isn't that amazing? And it's because I shifted my attitude. I had to do the job. I needed some money. And I shifted my attitude. Instead of being grumpy about being a telemarketer, I decided that anyway I have to do it. And anyway I need this little bit of money. And so now I'm going to just pray for these people. Amazing. And I got to know all these people really well. And we became quite good friends. And then the interesting thing is, one of the tickets I sold hit the big jackpot. And it turned out, I don't know if it was a scam or not, but the club said they owned half of it. which is not what I had told the people. So now I was really put on the spot and I had to quit because I mean, this was really, for me, okay, we can say fairly what we're doing. And if you do want to have a share, and I called it hope. I thought I was selling them hope, you know, because you hope that you're going to win. And so it was hope, and hope is really important. But then when the club claimed they owned half of the proceeds, I got locked out of the office because I was really, this was not right. I mean, you know, one thing you do what you say, but then when you don't do what you say you're doing, then that's wrong. So, yeah, but that's where this, you know, using these techniques can change your whole life. So, you know, if you clean somebody's house, or you know, my first job out of college, my first job in college was working at a savings and loan association in Chicago. And I got out of typing in high school doing 5 words a minute, no, 25 words a minute with 5 errors. I mean, I wasn't a typist. And the first job that they gave me was typing envelopes on a big old typewriter. I don't know if you've ever even seen them, you know, the big old typewriters. And I never cut my fingernails, so I was always making mistakes. And they told me that, and this was a really important lesson for me that I was able to use later. When I met Buddhism, it became particularly impactful. But they told me that the most important job in the whole Savings and Loan Association, which was enormous, the most important job in that Savings and Loan Association was my typing those envelopes. Because if I made mistakes on those envelopes and people saw my envelope, they might have a negative feeling about the Savings and Loan Association because of what I did. So I used to sneak home at night with bags full of envelopes that were all messy like that. But the point I'm making is that no matter what job you do, if it's telemarketing or digging ditches, it just doesn't matter, because it's just the prop that's there for you to practice the good heart. For you to practice, you can do mantra all day long. Can you imagine all day long you're digging a ditch, and all day long inside you're doing Om Mani Padme Hum, and you're radiating light out. I mean, that takes practice to get there instead of saying damn job, you know, that kind of thing. But it's totally, totally, totally life-changing when you approach whatever you do in a different fashion, and then life becomes meaningful. Yeah. I think having a good life, you know, everybody wants a good life, right? And in most cases, if you ask somebody what a good life means, it usually means money, house, car. But a good life doesn't mean, I mean, it's okay if you have those things. I'm not at all opposed to those things. But the good life is really having a peaceful mind. That's a good life. You know, not having a life that's a mind that's always irritated, always jealousing. You know, how did you get that and I didn't? You know, why do you have all the luck in the world and I don't? The poor me, why me? So not having that, that's a good life. And the nice thing about Buddhism, from my point of view, and meeting a teacher like Lama Yeshe, or now Lama Zopa, is that you know, we have these living examples, and they give us the tools that we can use to change our lives and change our minds. And hopefully when we die involuntarily, at least we're happy. He died involuntarily. They put it in the obituary. Okay, so I brought in some little goodies to celebrate. So please help yourself with a Publix pastry. They're usually pretty good. Is there anything any questions that you might have, Hannah?
Not a question, but I'm wondering if you would just share your favorite memory of Lama Yeshe.
Well, I don't know. I know, Hannah, if you have a chance to listen to the video of my talk today, an hour and a half long, you'll hear a lot of stories, and that was only scratching the surface. The guy that interviewed me it was very casual, and he allowed me to just talk. But I think that if you were to encapsulate the most profound thing about Lama Yeshe was Lama Yeshe's way of helping everybody. So, for example, when I'll just tell this small story. Lama was an associate professor at the University of California at Santa Cruz. He was a visiting professor because one of his students was a professor there, and she went on sabbatical. And they needed someone to fill in her position while she was on sabbatical. So they hired Lama Yeshe because it was a class on introduction to Tibetan Buddhism. And it was one of those rooms that you might know, you enter through the back and it's kind of a circular room. It's not circular like this. It's just sort of, what do you call it? Like a fan. And then all the seats are like in a fan and the teacher sits down below. So you enter up here and then it steps down and the seats are fanning. And there were all these windows on the ground floor. There were all these big windows. So this was a prerequisite class. You needed to take it if you were entering, it's one of those, it's an elective, is that what it's called? Where you can just choose a class, you have to fill some sort of something you have to fill. And so it wasn't like they were majoring in it, but it was some kind of course they needed to take. But the word got out that Lama Yeshe was teaching this course. So the fire marshals ended up giving up because the room was completely packed with young 18-year-olds. And they were in the windows. They were like in the windows, sitting in the windows. And then Lama would enter. And Lama wasn't a big man. He was a small man. And Lama would enter, and all the students are looking forward. And he'd enter from the back. And as soon as he got into the room, every student in the room stood up. And I helped somebody who was a teaching assistant who met with small groups. And this one kid who was 18 years old said he didn't even know Lama had entered the room, but he knew he had to stand up. It was amazing. So then Lama would go down the stairs with all these kids standing. He would go down the stairs, the steps. I mean, they weren't like stairs, like a ladder. They were big, gradual things. He'd go down to the base down there. He'd go behind the desk, he'd stand on the chair, and then he'd sit on top of the desk, cross-legged. And then he'd talk to this room, completely no seat left, completely huge room. He'd talk. Lama talked to every single person in that room as if he was only speaking to them. And again, I know this because I was in a small group with a teaching assistant, and you'd hear these kids comment about how Lama addressed this problem in their life. And the other one said, well, he addressed this problem. So the same word came out of his mouth, but it hit the different people with a different solution to a problem in their life. And I know for me, what happened with me was I wasn't to college. I was just auditing the course or whatever you call it. But I had these really dark sunglasses and I just cried every day through every class because I knew I'd never known what I wanted to be when I was in college. All my friends had goals. They were going to be some kind of noun and I didn't have it. I just was looking for happiness. But what I saw with Lama Yeshe was that this is what I wanted to be when I grew up. I wanted to be Lama Yeshe. I wanted it to be so that when I said one word, it brought benefit to others. So it's really profound to see Lama in this situation, Hannah. Yeah, Joe.
I just want to add that I graduated from Santa Cruz.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you're a little young to have made it. Sorry. You missed a good deal.
Yeah, I wish I would.
So are you from Santa Cruz?
Yeah.
So did you ever go to Vajrapani Institute in Boulder Creek?
No, I wasn't into
Oh.
the topic at the time.
So when you go, is your family still there or are they here now?
I still got family.
In Santa Cruz?
Mhm.
So when you go back, you need to visit Vajrapani Institute.
You mean the one in the forest?
Yeah. Well, there's two. There's
My house was 5 minutes from that.
Was it from Land and Medicine Buddha, or which was in SoCal? Which-
Exactly. Yeah, I used to live 5 minutes from
So okay. So did you ever go there?
Soka. I drove by it, but I never.
Okay.
I saw it, but I never knew what it was.
Now that's amazing. You need to go there. Land and Medicine Buddha is in SoCal, and then in Boulder Creek, which is further up, 9, I think, is it 9? Anyway, further up into the mountains is Vajrapani. but you have to be really sure you want to go there because it's a road. It's definitely not a paved road.
Yeah, I guess it just wasn't my time.
No, but see, that's the whole point, is that it just has to be a confluence.
Right,
Everything
yeah,
has
right.
to just come together at the right moment like that. But I think you'd enjoy both places. Land of Medicine Buddha. Land of Medicine Buddha has some amazing redwoods. And so, I mean, it's really trippy. It's, yeah, really
Familiar,
trippy.
yes, very much.
So the incarnation of Lama Yeshe is called Lama Osel, and he's 37. My daughter's 35, so he's 37. And we were out there in 2019. He did he's developed this program called Habit Alignment. So he's not a Buddhist. He's a Buddhist incognito. He's a young kid. 35, 37 years old. I mean, I was saying today on the talk that people wanted to know about Osel. And because I helped start his organization 3 years ago, and now he's got a really well-developed organization in just 3 years. But it's like, I feel that I need to I feel like I need to step aside because it needs to be run by young people. And I had a meeting just the other day with an organization that we're going to partner with, and the CEO was 26. And the nobody in the meeting was 40, and I'm 71.
Huh.
So, it was like, it's time for the young people to take over. They couldn't have done what I've done in 3 years. There's no way they could have done it. But now the house is built. So I feel that they can take over. And I said, and I don't even have a tattoo because of course everybody in this group is like sleeves and, and I don't have one. So, but he developed this program called Habit Alignment because he says that our problems is that our habits are badly aligned. And so he did this course at Land of Medicine Buddha. It was a 3-day course, and 35 people came from out of the country, from Hawaii, from all over for this 3-day course at Land of Medicine Buddha. And people weren't even necessarily Buddhist, but they got it, And one of the things that we did was go into the redwoods for forest bathing. And so if you ever hear that there's a habit alignment course going on, we did kayaking, and not me, but they did kayaking, and they did, these trust things that you do, trust, you know what I mean? We did this long line. Everybody was lined up like this closely, and and he had this music going, and this person at the end was blindfolded, and then this person had to walk down the aisle of these people, and people were touching them and saying, "I love you. You're really beautiful. You're the best person in the world." And they can't see anything, and they don't know who's talking, and they just have to have the trust that these people are taking care of them as they go down this row of unidentified human beings. And it was an amazing thing. One girl started out really kind of freaked, to have a blindfold put on, but she ended up doing this thing. There's all these words that I'm not familiar with. When you just throw yourself into a crowd, it's got a name. They do it at concerts where somebody just throws themselves and the crowd catches them. There's a name to it. I don't know what it is. But the girl that started out the most like freaked out about being blindfolded and having to trust these people ended up just falling into the people. And then the next person would throw her back to the next person. But it created, he calls it a habit alignment concept, to break your concepts. Very interesting, but it's all Buddhism in a new dress like that. So if you hear that there's a habit alignment course going on, you should definitely sign up for it and have your mind blown. Yeah. So I hope you can make it back sometime and you can see these places.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah. Are you working here? Are you going to school here?
Yes, I work here, but I'll see if I can ask my uncle to stay at his house.
There?
Yeah.
Great. You live in Boca?
Mhm.
Oh, nice. So what brought you from California to Florida?
My family,
They moved?
my family moved here, yeah.
Oh, okay, but you still have, people there.
Yeah.
Yeah, good, good. Well, thanks for coming today. It's nice. It's very interesting because there are, I mean, we just did a course that had quite a few people in it, and just the four of them are here today. And you're all people I don't know, so I'm happy to know you, except for Hannah. I know Hannah. So thank you. It's really nice. Nice to spend today with you. So again, close the day by feeling really special and lucky to have been here today, to have practiced the meditation on Avalokiteshvara, to have had a taste of the feeling of being clear light, understanding that love and compassion are antidotes to the suffering in our world. Can you imagine if Putin was here? How wonderful that would be. And have a, whatever it is, a public pastry. So happy Losar. It's called Losar. And yeah, I'm glad I got to at least mention Lama Yeshe because it's very extraordinary. And there is a book for people who get interested. Margaret, do you have Big Love?
Yes,
You do?
yes.
Awesome. Jack, do you have Big Love? You do. Hannah? You should get it. It's, I think, what, $60?
Oh, yeah, the Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archive has even been reducing the price. And
Yeah.
making it so reasonable.
Just get Big Love. You can see it in there. It's a two volume. It's 2 volumes and it weighs about 20 pounds. I mean, these are tomes, but it's the life of Lama Yeshe. And it's just extraordinary and it's inspiring and just shows you how lucky, because this is interesting. Because you're here today indicates that you have a strong connection with Lama Yeshe. It's not possible for you not to have a connection with Lama Yeshe and be here. There's no such thing as an accident. It doesn't exist ever. So there's some connection with Lama Yeshe that you're here tonight on this special night of all nights, like that.
I have read the book of his. It's called Becoming Your Own Therapist.
Yes, that's my favorite.
My favorite too. I mean, I didn't read any other books, but that was like very practical, like I love it.
So that book, this is what I say with that book, if you're in trouble, you need help, it doesn't matter what page you open up.
Yeah.
That whatever page you open up is the page that's going to help you.
Yeah.
I give that book away because I don't know a better book.
Yeah, and it's very thin.
Yes, it's very thin. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good. Well, I hope to see you all again. It's a nice place to be.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you.
Jeff.
Thank you. And now you know visualization meditation. You two look more alike all the time.
They're twins.
I know they're twins, but every day they look more